Good afternoon, I guess, at this point. Give it up again for Zach Wahls. Wasn't that awesome? So some of you may know that in my previous life, I served on the National Executive Board of the Boy Scouts of America, was the National Explorer President of the Boy Scouts of America. All that happened before Zach was born. Actually reminded us his birth year. And now I'm honored to be able to serve with Scouts for Equality and help Zach in his quest to end discrimination in Boy Scouts. Thank you so much for being here, Zach. We have a great program lined up. I hope you're going to enjoy this brunch. I hope you're going to learn a lot about victory, a lot about our paths to victory across the country, where we still have work to do, and how we go about tackling that work. But first, let's talk about how we get this party started. There's a little bit in there, but let's put a little bit more. This is a hint. If you don't have a full glass at your table, there is one of these wonderful bottles of champagne right there in the center. Please fill your glasses. Could I ask all of the elected officials in the room to please stand? Representative democracy and take the bold step of being an elected official in our nation. Thank you so much. If you grade your class for all these people who are willing to put their names on the ballot and serve for us. Cheers. Now, if I do too much of that by the end of this program, I'm not sure what I'll say. I'd also like now to ask the members of the Victory Campaign Board, the Victory Fund Board of Directors, and the Victory Institute Board of Directors to please rise. I asked this to happen so that, yes, thank them. What's important for you in Chicago is to know that these are the people that continue to talk to you after this brunch. These are the folks who will continue to represent Victory in Chicago, Cook County, Illinois, and the region. So please get to know them. Please share with them your desire to run for office in the future or attend our trainings or any of the other programs we're going to talk about today. We have, I think, a great variety of speakers for you to learn from. I have the distinct pleasure of working with elected officials, appointed officials, trainees, people who go through our program that are already well-established elected officials and frankly don't need the Victory Fund support because they've got such a great variety of donors already, but they continue to come back and talk about this work and how important it is. And I hope you'll open your ears to that and your hearts to that today because it's a really wonderful group of people who are willing to do what most of us don't want to do. You know, no more than 1.8% of the country ever puts their name on a ballot. And think about that. There are 330 million people in the country, and no more than 1.8% are ever going to run for office. That's pretty remarkable, right? It's a very small group of people. We're going to show you a cross-section of those people today, and hopefully you'll get a flavor of Victory's work. But we don't just start with them when they're ready to run for office. It's time to get them started when they're young. We want to find people who are interested in politics, find great ways for them to enter this interesting world of public service. So a few years ago, the Board of Directors of Victory decided that we needed a new entry ramp for politics. And they tasked the staff with going out and saying, all right, what is a great way for young people to enter politics? Well, at the same time, the House of Representatives in Washington said, we are no longer going to fund internships for young people. We can have interns, but we're not going to pay them. Ding, ding, ding. What was our perfect opportunity? Our opportunity was to take some of our fundraising expertise on the political side, roll it over to the nonprofit side, and ask corporations to help us fund Victory Congressional internships. So now, every semester, we have a class of interns who come to Washington, who get paid a stipend, provided housing, and they get to learn about what it's like on Capitol Hill to serve with a member of Congress, how that member of Congress office operates, what their field work is like, what it's like back in the district, what their crazy schedule is like, And they get to learn how to eat free by going to every reception they can find every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's an important skill. It is how Washington works. So today, my first introduction of somebody who's been through one of our programs is to introduce to you a graduate of our Victory Congressional Internship Program. There's a lot you can learn about Ken. Ken Stromdahl is our example. But most importantly, he's going to talk a lot about his experience. I'm just going to give you one little tidbit. How many of you have ever been on the Oprah Winfrey Show? How many of you have been to the Oprah Winfrey Show? How many of you have been 8 times? One person, our speaker, Ken Stromdahl. Come on up, Ken.
Thank you for welcoming me to the stage, Chuck. And let me just say what an honor and a privilege it is to be on this stage in such great company with all of you. It's a company that I couldn't have imagined being with 2 years ago when I applied for the Victory Congressional Internship. I applied not knowing if I could make it. I applied with a lot of doubts. So imagine my surprise when I was walking out of class at Loyola and I received an email from John Williams, who was the director of the internship program, congratulating me on being accepted. I was completely beside myself, so much so that I forgot how to stand and I fell to my knees. And that was only the first time Victory swept me off my feet. I didn't know what to do, so I called my mother, as I so often did. I told her I was accepted and that her son, her only gay son, her only son really, who was gay, cat's out of the bag, I'm glad you're always sitting down for that one, was going to Congress, and she screamed. She screamed louder than when I called her the day before her 50th birthday and told her she was going to the Oprah show. And let me tell you, that's something to scream about. Don't get your hopes up, no one's going home with the car tonight. Unless Chuck has something he wants to tell me. She asked what office I would be with, and I didn't know that yet. And she said, oh no, you might be working with one of those members that has a lot of skeletons in their closets. And then she said, but don't worry, you came out of the closet years ago, but it wasn't because it had skeletons. It's because you had potential. You can do anything that you want, and I'm proud of this accomplishment for you. I never imagined that you could achieve this, and I certainly didn't expect it when you told me you were gay, but you have shifted my confidence and changed my perspective on the world. I have never been happier to make my mother proud. And in reference to the skeletons in the closet, I was lucky I didn't have to worry about that, because a few weeks later I would learn that I would work in the best office on the Hill, in my humble opinion, the office of an outstanding member of Congress who, among other things, has championed LGBT equality for years. And that's the office of Congressman Mike Quigley, who is here with us today. I hope he and his staff are as proud as I am to have been the first Victory Congressional Internship in their office. I hope they continue to house Victory Congressional interns because it really is the best office. Sorry if there's other members of Congress in this room. You're wonderful. You're terrific. You're here tonight and you count as well. Working in his office was beyond anything I could have dreamed of. His staff was second to none, and they taught me everything from how to give a tour of the Hill and answering the phones, to developing policy and building coalitions so that we can reach 272 votes on the floor of the House and achieve our common goals. The skills I gained in his office set me up on a different trajectory, so when I returned to Chicago, I had a better trajectory. And none of that would have been possible without each and every one of you today. Those of you who have committed your time, your money, your support, and your confidence to interns like myself. As a Victory Congressional intern, I was connected with professionals working not just to change the face of politics, but to change the lives of Americans every day. Weekly professional development workshops connected me to leaders who strove to advance the principles of tolerance and opportunity, justice and human dignity. And Chuck was absolutely right. To be an intern and not have to worry about eating, although I did have to search a lot of receptions. It's possible because of the stipend we are paid, and to not have to worry about paying rent each month because of the generous housing allows us to contribute our time and our energy and our focus to achieving those same principles of tolerance and opportunity and human dignity and justice when we are in D.C. And it allows us to take advantage of everything D.C. has to offer. Personally, from going as the only out gay person in middle school and high school who at 12, for some reason, was watching CNN instead of cartoons. And at 12, I heard a president speak from the Rose Garden and say he wanted to amend the Constitution that at that age I had already memorized, to only allow a man and a woman get married. I couldn't understand it all, but I knew that, sorry ladies, I wasn't going to love you. And I knew that I was going to marry a man one day, not today. So it hurt, and I didn't know how to process it. And to go from that day to being in the audience of the president's inauguration when he paid homage to Stonewall and said that he wanted people like me to be treated equally under the law. Well, if there was any hands of discrimination weighing me down, he brushed them off. And then Beyonce performed. This is a very long way of saying victory has unlocked my potential. As much as I knew who I was before I was a Victory Congressional intern, I gained a perspective and a confidence that has allowed me to be more than visible, but a voice. To be more than just present, but active in spaces that welcome me and spaces that otherwise would not welcome me. After 4 months on the Hill and at Victory headquarters, I was sad to leave, but I made the transition back to Chicago more hopeful than ever that change was possible. It was just waiting for us to kick it into gear. And just think of what the movement has achieved since I was an intern in the spring of 2013. It's enough to give you pause, and much of it would not have been accomplished without the individuals Victory empowers and helps elect to office. And while we can pause and reflect, I'd like to take this time to borrow a phrase that I've heard many times in my job since I started working in the mayor's office here in Chicago. I've heard it from staffers, I've heard it from supervisors, I've heard it from colleagues in the room, and I've heard it from the man himself. Great job, now get back to work. As simple as that may sound, its results are unending. You supported my housing and my stipend, but in a much larger way you supported my dreams. Dreams which so few people supported before then, and so many more doubted. I like to think that they can't doubt them anymore. You opened my eyes to new possibilities, and I exited the internship a better individual, capable of more professionally, socially, and politically. And right now, as we're gathered today, there's a new class of interns in DC that just started. Each of them will have their own individual and unique experience, but they will have it in the warm embrace of the Victory family. And that's what this all comes back to. Because in my short life of 22 years, I have not seen an organization more steadfastly committed to achieving a goal and improving the lives of Americans. Because when you have an out person in office, when someone is visible, you're not just improving their life, you're improving the confidence and expectations of everyone else that sees them, except for the naysayers, but their days are numbered. I hope that you know how much this means to me. I hope that you feel that everything you have worked for is worth it. That is how I feel, because I know I could not have gone from the place I was at 12 to an out staffer in Mayor Emanuel's administration as I am today if it wasn't for Victory. So please, join me. Let's get back to work, because there's work to be done so more interns can have an experience like mine. There's work to be done from Maine to Michigan to Washington to Venezuela and Peru and right here in the land of Lincoln, so that everyone has equal access to opportunity no matter their sexual orientation. Slowly but surely, we are changing the world. Thank you for coming tonight. You have inspired me, you have given me confidence, and I'm going to stay with Victory as a member for as long as I live, because no one has shown the commitment that you guys have today. Particularly, I want to note, Tom and Laura from State Farm, who gave up Bears home opener tickets to be with us today. And with that, I would just like to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to everyone in this room, particularly the out-elected officials and the non-out-elected officials. Sorry. The lights are bright up here, Quigley. You have a lovely wife. Thank you, just thank you. And let's move on so you can hear some more speakers tonight. Enjoy the rest of the day.